Okay, so last video in this set, we're going to be explaining our final move. Now, I've told you guys before the do your best, forget the rest thing. Today, I went after my arms. I had a good strip set, and my arms are feeling very tired. And I know that's going to impede how I perform right now. It's going to make my moves different because of the fatigue, right? So I'm going to worry about that and remember that in the back of my head. I don't say worry about that like, oh, I have to worry about that. But I'm going to like put that on the side. Realize that that's going to affect my performance. That's what I mean. And I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to allow myself to focus on other things and allow for that difference in my fatigue level, right? Okay, just want to give you that note. Something to bear in mind when we're training, when we're doing any sort of exercise, workout, etc. Right? Okay, as always, we gotta get back to where we were. Review first, right? So, from our on guard, let's get our review in. 5, recover. Coming in with that wall of steel, right? Lunge, 7, and I always hit the couch here. Recover. Left step. Bind in 7, snake bite, 3, cross back. Recentering. Coming in for that bind in 6, stepping into the 6, extend bind, 2-7, 2-7. Coming in for our beat after our cross forward, making sure we include all our footwork, right? Getting our beat, stepping in for the beat, lunge 4, recover, cross back. I'm gonna come to my corner like I do, stepping in for that under the thing, grabbing the arms, stepping past with a cut, whipping around. I'm gonna recenter myself. I finished that, left step, stepping to my right as I engage with 1 for the cut, to a lunge 4, right? Lunge 6, lunge 5, or not lunging resisting, extend 7. Walking through that series to our recovery. Now with a cross forward, we get our last 2 parries. We get enough room here to do them. Parry 9, parry 8. That's kept, now we're caught up where we left off. Last move, dervish. Dervish is a technique designed to fight 3 people simultaneously. Now, this move can be adapted and modified as needed because commonly when we, as CA folk, are fighting in a melee environment and we're facing more than one person, ideally you've brought a secondary. You didn't come out single sword. This move is designed for using a single sword, but can easily be adapted to involve 2 swords, a dagger, a buckler, whatever you happen to be packing to your event. Now, let's break it down. Now I want you to imagine you've got 3 people in front of you. 1 centered, 1 to your right, 1 to your left. They're fighting you in a line, standard formation. You always begin moves out of range. So I am out of range. The first thing I do is I step in range and beat my opponent's blade, the one in front of me. So I step in with a beat, smash, hitting his blade, ideally, into my opponent's line of attack. So I'll either bind up his blade or bind up my opponent's arm. As long as he can't hit me while I do my next move, I'm fine. From my beat, I'm going to transition to a simple bind on my opponent next to me and lunge, guarding against the potential of a return fire from my opponent. So once again, stepping in with the beat, I lunge this way, getting that bind. Imagine your opponent's blade, it's there, right? You're binding over. Getting that simple bind as I bring my off arm in to guard against a potential return fire, creating just a wall. So the most likely counterattack is going to slap into my arm at best. From here, footwork's important. Notice my leg. From my lunge, I'm going to pivot. I'm not even going to use a sword. Don't even look at that. I'm going to pivot towards that opponent on my far left. Got it? So again, I'm here. As I pivot, my sword engages this line. So now I'm transitioning from my arm being my guard to my sword being that guard as I pivot. Got it? Okay. Simple bind lunge. pivot wall of steel. This is a wall of steel. I'm making a wall of it that I'm hiding behind, right? Notice my entire body aligns behind this. From here, I'm going to thrust into my opponent that was on my left. Now, because of my range and how far I ended up over here, I'm going to do a demi lunge. I don't need a full lunge because I end up close. So I demi lunge into this opponent. Half lunge, right? Now, ideally, I've come across, remember, my opponent's blades, right? When I have finished here and come across, I'm lining up on their blades, dropping my tip, stabbing that opponent on my left, and my other opponent's blade is ideally caught underneath this one as well. I know this has a lot of idealies and things like that. Don't get caught up on that. The theory behind it is solid in various situations. Remember, we learn concepts. We don't learn moves. The odds of you pulling this one off exactly, though I have done it and I've seen other fighters do it, it's not as high as you using the mechanics you learn from this practice to win a fight, right? The mechanics we're using here still hold over well. So, sorry, getting off topic here. And again, from my lunge, I parry wall of steel, demi lunge that guy on the side. Now, again, hopefully I've got my opponent there. I'm going to step in using my off arm to remove any blade, hand, arm, whatever I can grab to make sure I don't get killed at this moment. And as I do, I cut the opponent directly in front of me. Okay? Let's do it in one motion, and then we'll put it all together and see how we're doing. All right. Dervish. I'm out of range. I enter range with a beat, lunge, guarding against that opponent, binding this opponent, pivoting to gather that opponent's blade. I lunge, demi lunge to strike the opponent on my left, stepping through. Now again, get body to body with someone and have them stab you, right? Their sword can't do it. It's too close. That's why we step in close for this one. You step in close, bring your sword up, and cutting your opponent along the neck head line. There it was broken down. Let's do one more a little smooth, shall we? Beat, lunge, transition, stab, cut. The whole system. Got it? And again, the concept. It's a concept. Don't get caught up on this as a move. This is a concept. These concepts we're putting together into one transitional move. Can it be pulled off that way? Anything can be done. Like I said, I've done it and I've seen it done. But doing it is not like, I'm going to walk out there and dervish those three guys. It's like, that's not normally how it works. They set themselves up poorly. I saw my opportunity. I took advantage of something I knew from practice would work. All their blades were conveniently online, right? I smash that first guy. He hits his second. This guy's already lined up for my counter. I whip around. I stab him. I kill the last, right? That's how I pulled it off because they all came out like this. I'm like, you're done. I have you. Okay? Look for the openings you start to learn from doing these practices. I mean, while I'm recording this, we're still on limited quarantine, right? Things are slowly opening back up, but we're not doing a lot of public events yet. And sword fighting still not happening yet. So you're not going to get the opportunity to apply this as often as you might like. But the more you practice it now and the more you try applying this theory when we do get back to fighting each other, the more you'll start seeing how the two overlap, right? Okay, enough death by discussion. Let's put it all together. And again, we're just going for smooth. You build this smoothness into speed. And I promise you, you get to a point where you can pull this whole thing together. Do it once or twice a day, and you'll also be getting your baseline cardio for the day. This is good sword skill and also a bit of a cardio muscle builder. So, I mean, both of these things are good for swords. So I encourage you to give it a try. And if this is too much for you, remember this is like a culminating all the moves I wanted to put into one thing. There are other things we could add, but this is pretty good at hitting the majority of the basics from Way of the Tiger. And I'm going to think of, right now I'm thinking about putting together more low-level ones, things that will focus on different aspects, more core mechanics, things for more beginner-level learners. I would call this one more intermediate, right? This is intermediate to advanced. This incorporates a lot. So don't worry about where you're at. If you think you can keep up with this one, do it. If you think you need other ones, please put that in the comments if you have something that you know I should be focusing on for you. And I want to put together more of these things so we can keep our training going as best we can in the circumstances we live in now. All right, enough talk. Let's get our jam on. So again, from our on guard, we have our 6, lunge, 5, recover with that close, stepping in with that J-stroke, lunge, 7, recover, left step, stepping in for that bind, extending, recovering with a parry first, recentering, coming in for that bind in 6, boom, 2, 7 as we recover out, step crossing forward, because we need to practice that too, with our beat, lunge, 4, recover, cross back, stepping in for that 5, coming across for that cut, doubling back around to our left step, catching the incoming fighter with the counter cut, to a lunge, 4, lunge, 6, going through the whole gambit, to a recover, crossing forward, and our 2 last parries, 9, 8, and from here we're going to begin. So from my 8, I step in with the beat, lunge, cross, lunge, finish. Got it? I'm just going to do that last part again, make sure we have it. Cross forward, 9, 8, beat. Got it? Okay, I'm going to put it all together. 9, 8, beat, lunge, cross, stab, cut for the finish. All right, that's the entire form. Broken down bit by bit. I think I got it all. As again, like I said, I don't edit these. These are just my recordings I post up. I'm sure I mess stuff up and forget stuff too. This is real life training, right? This is how it goes. You slowly get better. You improve over time. Mistakes are part of learning. All right, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And again, please leave comments on things that you would like to see more of or anything you'd like to work on or have me help you work with. Take care of yourselves, everyone.